Well, hey there, Matt Klowskowski here once again, and in this video, what we're going to take a look at is basically a start to finish edit of one of my landscape photos. All right, so you'll see the whole process, you'll see the raw photo, no changes applied, and then you'll see everything that I do to the photo. We're going to do it all in ON1 Photo Raw, so we'll use the develop, we'll use effects, we'll go back to develop, and you'll see that it really becomes very easy because no matter what we're working on, we're always non-destructive. Always able to go back and change our settings. Well, in honor that ON1 is located out of Portland, Oregon, I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you start to finish on one of my landscape photos. And this is taken at Mountain Hood just outside of Portland, Oregon. So just, again, in honor of ON1, that they're located very close to this beautiful place, I thought I'd use this photo. And I can tell you this, it's funny, you go there, they see Mountain Hood every day. And so, you know, it's like you tell somebody you're going, this is called Trillium Lake. You tell somebody you're going to Trillium Lake, you might as well use a 4-letter word. And it's like, to me, this is like the most beautiful place I've ever seen. So anyway, let's go. So we're in browse. We're in the browse view. I'm just going to go take it, click on develop. It's going to jump us over into the develop portion here. We do have presets on the left-hand side. I'm actually going to hide it. We're going to do this one from scratch. So let's boost the exposure. Obviously, we're starting to kill the sky, so we'll pull back on the highlights a little bit. Right there. Open up the shadows, like so. Got my whites. I don't want to push the whites too much because I don't want them to get all white. So I'm just going to push that a little bit of blacks here. You know, as I push the exposure, I'm realizing that shadows, I'm not quite, you know, I'm getting pretty close. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave that exposure about where it is. And then what we'll do here is to kind of tame the sky a little bit. Let's just go over to the local adjustments section. I'm going to bring the exposure down. And let's just go and add a grad filter to darken that sky. Like so. Cool. Let's go back to our overall settings here. I think overall I'm going to add a little bit of warmth to this one here. And scroll down. Let's see. What do we got? You know, honestly, I think we're looking pretty good. I might add a little bit of structure. That's kind of like clarity if you've ever used it before. There's really no haziness, so I'm not going to bother dehazing anything. So we'll just leave that there. Let's go take a look here. A couple other things. Color adjustments. I can jump down here, work on the sky a little bit. Maybe if I want to pop a little bit more blue saturation into it. Just make sure it doesn't get purple. And make it a little bit brighter. Looking good. Let's go and only thing I'm going to do here is let's throw a little bit of sharpening onto this one. I'm going to bring my halo down. I'm going to bring the amount down. I usually leave it on the high pass option over here. Really helps if you zoom into 100% because you're just going to get a better feeling for the sharpening that you're applying here. You can get a good view of what it all looks like. I generally look into the foreground areas when I'm sharpening here. If you ever want to see your before and after, I'm just going to add some sharpening here. If you ever want to see the before and after, just click the little checkbox. So that shows you before and that shows you after. And it's just the sharpening. Now, if I ever want to see before and after of everything, let's go ahead here and zoom back out. If I ever want to see a before and after of everything, I just hit the backslash key. That shows me a before. And then that shows me the after. All right, so I think we're doing pretty good here. Let's maybe tone back overall a little bit on the exposure as I look at it. And I think I might go down I probably added a little bit too much sharpening here, so we'll tone back on that. You know what? I'm going to leave it up. I want to show you something here. So this is kind of the toning phase, and you do have a lot of options here, but a lot of times I like to go in and stylize my photo. I've always used ON1 effects for stylization. So we're going to jump over into effects. Yes, we're there. It's that quick. I'm going to go in here and maybe, you know what? Let's go on the left-hand side, take a look at the presets. So I'm going to go look at the landscape presets. One of the things I do a lot is hit that little icon right up here because that's going to give me a larger view of them up there. So I can get a real good look at some of the presets in here. Kind of like in that one. A little bit of warmth to it, a little bit of color. So that looks pretty good. If we want to go ahead and add a couple other things, let's throw a vignette on top of this one. They even, if I got anything in here, I got my big softy. They even included a preset for my big softy. I'll probably pull it back on the brightness a little bit, but get that in there. So I was really happy about that. You can go in here. I think we have enough contrast, so I'm not even going to add more dynamic contrast. I might take a look at a sunshine filter and see how this is going to look. Maybe try the natural version. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to hit the trash can. I don't even think we need it. So let's take a look. Backslash key before, backslash key after. Things are looking good. Let's hop back over to develop. And look what I have here. I have all of my settings. You see what's happening here is I'm able to do all my raw edits. I'm able to jump to effects and have it work on my photo, and I still come back. I've got all my raw edits. So if I want to, I can open up that foreground. I can open up some of the shadowy areas. I can jump back over here to my local adjustments and maybe pull back a little bit over here on the sky. And then again, I can kind of keep tweaking these two areas if I need to. I've got more local adjustments. I can do a brush. I can do a lot of different things. So we'll jump over back here again. Let's add a layer. And I think I'm going to, in fact, let's try this. Let's go add one more local adjustment here. Rather than work on the one that's working on my sky up at the top there, rather than work on just that one, drag that down, spread it out a little bit, and kind of just start that one over again. Because as I develop it, sometimes, you'll look at it and you'll see, you can push and pull. Maybe I'll want to bring out some more detail in the trees. Maybe I want to pull back on the sky a little bit more. So it's not to say that, I hit it the first time, but this, if I showed you anything here, the biggest part about this to me is that I went to effects, I applied effects, and I came back to develop, and I'm still able to go in here and do all of my develop module settings that I have to the photo. And if I jump over here to effects, guess what? When I go to effects, all my same effects that I added are still live. So I can go back and forth and I can tweak this all I want, which really helps out. And when you're done, that's it. I mean, I can literally just go back over to my browse, and there I am. There's my photo. And I can continue, I can save it, I can go down here and export it, save it as a JPEG, go back into develop. If I go back over into develop, you're gonna see that it pulls up develop with all my settings there again. So this is all non-destructive. Nothing I'm doing here has been permanently done to the photo, even between develop and effects. Everything I do, I can go back and I can change. Hey everybody, Matt Klowskowski here. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to organize your photos in ON1 Browse. So some quick tips and things that you can do to just help keep things organized and make it a lot easier every time you want to go back to your photos. You'll know exactly where they are. Well, the first thing I can tell you is that this video is going to seem kind of simplistic, and it's supposed to be, all right? We don't want a complicated organizational system. In fact, one of the benefits I think of using Browse is that it's a simplistic system. So the idea behind it is this browse, ON1 Browse, it literally is a file browser, all right? If you look over here and you start to see, you've got your drives listed here, it's showing you the tree of your drive. You're just looking through the folders on your computer. This is a folder view of your computer, and that's really what this is. It's got shortcuts to different areas. You can jump to your desktop, you can jump to your pictures folder, or look at different drives, but those are just shortcuts to look at things that are on your computer. It's the same as your Finder window on a Mac or your Windows Explorer window on a PC. It's the same exact thing. You're just looking at folders on your computer, okay? It's not a catalog. It's not a library system that you have to do something special to be able to see with it. So it literally is you're just looking at photos on your computer. There's no import involved. Okay. As soon as I put a folder onto my computer, I'll be able to go see it here in Browse. So I want to explain to you a little bit about how I organize. Let's go down here and take a look. I've got my main photo drive attached here. And the way I organize is I create a photos folder, and inside of there, I create subfolders for all of my photo shoots. Everybody does a little bit different. This works for me. It's worked for me for many, many years. I know some people use dates. I know some people use different names. Whatever it is, some people do it by year. All right, they have a photos folder and they have 2016 and 2015. I can just tell you this personally works for me, but whatever you do, it's going to be a folder-based system, and it still is going to be fairly simplistic. For me, this system works regardless of what app I use. And in fact, this is the first thing that I do. Before I go into any app, I organize my photos by folders this way. And now no matter what app I'm going to use to look at my photos, it's super simple. In fact, it's so simple that if I'm not here and, I can call home to my wife and I can ask, say, honey, can you go into the New York folder and grab me such and such photo? And so she can just navigate there. So it's not a complicated system. And then my other drive here is it's a backup of the main drive. So it's just a cloned backup of that main drive. So that's my photo organizational system. Now, to make things a little bit simpler, just to kind of show you what we're doing in the course, I've got a demo photos folder. All right, so it's called demo photos. It could just as easily be called photos. And in here, I've got descriptively named folders of some places that I went and shot. So we've got that. This is our Finder window, or if you're on a PC, your Windows Explorer window. These are just folders. As I navigate to the same exact folder inside of Browse, guess what I see? I see the same exact things. I see these folders. It's just showing me my computer's hard drive. Okay, there's no import going on here. There's nothing like that. It's just showing me a look into my hard drive. So really what can start to happen here as you start to use Browse, you don't even have to go through your Finder or Windows Explorer windows anymore. You can jump over into Browse. If I wanted to create a folder, like let's say I go on a new photo shoot. Normally I'd come over here, add a new folder. I'm just going to call it test or tset. Let's try spelling it right. There we go, test. Well, what's going to happen is that when I go jump back over to Browse, take a look. There's the folder. They're one and the same. Okay, they're not two different things. They're both showing you the same thing. It's just two different apps that are showing you this thing. Now, this as we move forward, you really don't even need to do it this way anymore. So what we can now do is we can now have Browse be the place that we're doing all things with our photos. So for example, I can just right-click right inside of here and then choose Add Subfolder. And so let's say I did go to New York, so I'll just type in New York here, click OK. And so now I've got a New York folder, okay? And then from here, I can go into that folder. I plug my card reader in. You'll see, just plug a card reader in. You'll see it pop up down here. I can plug my card reader in and then just dump my photos from that card into that New York folder. So what this does is this puts you in charge. This puts you in charge of where your photos are. This puts you in charge of moving things around. It does two things. Number one, it puts you accountable. You're not going to just lose your photos because some app is moving them around for you. Nobody's moving them around for you. You're doing it. And two, I think it becomes very, very simplistic. I think we can all understand a folder system, and I think we're all really picky about where our photos go. When you do it this way, when you're working with your photos this way, you know exactly where your photos are going because they're going into a very organized system that you choose. So in a nutshell, I think when it comes down to browsing your photos, if this seems simplistic, it really should be. It's an exact copy of what's on your computer's hard drive. You're not importing them into anywhere. You're not creating a catalog system. You're not changing anything. What you do on your computer's hard drive is an exact copy of what happens here in Browse, and it works the other way around. Whatever you're doing here in Browse is an exact copy or translation to what happens on your computer's hard drive because you're always working on that. Takes the complexity out of it, and it makes organizing really simple. Hey there, Matt here again, and in this video, we're going to see how you can use a couple of quick tips to make your photos easier to find. Now that you've got them in the right place, what we want to do is put some things in place to where we're not having to go always look for our photos, but we can go in there, we can mark them, and we can have some ways that we'll always be able to get back to our favorite ones. Once we get our photos onto the computer and we start looking through them, we're really going to want a quick way to, number one, to mark our favorite photos in some way, to mark them so that we know that we can get back to them. Number two, we're going to want a quick way to be able to filter through an entire folder and just see our favorite photos because we don't want to go, hunting and pecking through a folder to find our favorite ones. So I've got a folder here. Let's say I just brought this folder on, or I'm just getting time to sit down and go through the folder. If you go up here to the photo menu, you're going to see you've got a couple of things here. You've got color labels, you've got ratings, and then you've got the likes, which is basically like, dislike, or clear, which is saying basically nothing. It's saying it's not marked in any way. So you can use any combination of these that you want. I would recommend a simple system, which is like or dislike. All right. This just tells me, do I like it? Do I want to do something with it? Or do I dislike it and I just want to get it out of here? So if I like it, I'm just going to hit P. If I dislike it, I'm going to hit X. Now, there are ratings, 1 through 5 stars. To me, that's too many levels of liking and disliking. You know, it's like I dislike it, or I like it, or I kind of like it, or I'm ambivalent about it, or I kind of don't like it. It's too many levels for me. So, and then color labels. Again, you're getting into some more sophisticated needs for organizing and finding your photos. So if you do need those levels, that you'll know at least that they're there. But we're going to go just with the likes here. So P and X are going to be our main keyboard shortcuts. So what I do is I usually double click on a photo. It's going to open it up a little bit larger on the screen here. And if you want to get a little bit more screen real estate, you can click down here in the bottom right-hand corner and you can hide that panel over there. And that's going to give you a little bit more space to work with. Let's go ahead and bring it back over here though. And all I'm going to do is hit the letter, if I like this one, I'll hit the letter P. Okay. Now, if you look down here, you'll see the heart just got filled in. Here, let's hit the right arrow key. I'll go to the next one. Let's say I dislike this one. I'm going to hit the letter X. All right. And if you watch the little X down there, look at that. See? So I'll go to the next one. You know, I kind of don't care about this one. I don't like it. I don't dislike it. I'm just going to leave it. Go to the next one. All right. P. Go to the next one. P. Next one. P. I like all of them. Let's go with X. X. Right arrow key. P. Go through the whole thing. I'm not going to go through the whole folder, but you get the idea. You know, as we go through here, we can then mark our favorite photos here. In fact, just to make it a little bit easier here, let me go through. I'll just very quickly, just randomly, I'm not necessarily going on whether I like or dislike that. I'm just going to hit P and X and P and X and P just for a couple more of them, just to give us more to work with here. So what I've now done is I've gone through the photos and I've marked them in some way, which is good. It's a good start, because now what happens is when I want to get back to these favorite photos, I can go over here on the left side of Browse into the filters section. So first we got to turn it on, click on that little dot there, and then I can filter through the photos. So I've got a real easy way when I come back to this folder, because what I'm assuming is I'm going to come back here at a time where, you know, I don't know exactly which ones were my favorites. And I'm assuming I'm going to have a lot more photos in here. I could have hundreds. I don't want to just go searching around through here. So I know that I've marked them. And if I go over here to the filter section, now I know that I used the little heart that said I like them. So all I have to do is click on that heart and it's going to show me all of my liked photos. Pretty simple. Now I can start to decide, do I want to work on these? Do I want to bring them into develop? Do I want to share them? Whatever it happens to be. But at least now I've got a real quick way to see all of those photos. And then if I want to turn it off, I can just go over here and turn it off. If I want to see all the rejects, I can click that little X icon over there. This shows me all the rejects. And at this point, if I'm ready, I can just go up here to the edit menu, select all, and then just hit the delete key. And Browse is going to come up and ask me if I want to move these to the trash, and I can go ahead and delete them from here. So I'll cancel out of that. I'm not going to delete those just yet, but you get the idea. If you use your stars, same thing goes here. You can filter based on your star ratings and based on your labels, and you can use all three in combination with each other too. So if you use likes and 5 stars, you can use more than one of them together. But that's really what I would say. As you start to bring a photo shoot into Browse, because there's no organization. You've already done the organization. You've already put your photos where they're supposed to be. The only thing that's really left to do is go through them really quick and find your favorite ones. Because once you do that, when you come back here, it's going to make that process so much easier. When you just want to look at your favorite photos, you'll know that you have a nice, easy way to go get to them. If you've ever worked with any type of a photo management system, you're probably pretty familiar with albums. Albums are a very common way of organizing our photos and, more importantly, organizing our favorite photos so that we can always get back to them. ON1 Browse actually has albums. Let's go take a look at where they come into play. Well, the first thing you're going to want to know about using albums is that they have their own little panel over here on the left-hand side. All right, so if you ever have it hidden, that's all you're going to see. So just make sure you go over there and click on Show. That shows you your albums panel. So remember, the idea of an album is that this becomes a faster way for us to get to our favorite photos. Because now, rather than always having to go into the filters section and filter through, which, maybe you use a combination of likes and stars and labels, and sometimes it can get a little confusing depending on your workflow to go in here and always have to filter through your photos. So what we usually do is we create an album of our favorites, right? Kind of just like old school days, right? You know, you went out, you shot however many rolls of film. If you went on a trip and you came back and you put your favorite ones into an album. So the concept is very similar here. Well, in a previous video, we went in and we filtered our photos. So we did our picks and our likes. And then I showed you could do the star ratings and the color labels and everything. So we went in there and I liked some photos. And then we saw how we could use the filter section to just click on that little heart, which is the like button. And I can say, just show me the photos that I like. So rather than having to go through, which this is, you know, probably 20, 30 photos here, but imagine if it were hundreds, rather than having to go through hundreds and figure out where my favorite photos were. Now I've got a real simple way and I can filter to just those favorites. But if you want to take it that extra level, that's where albums come in. So what we would do is first filter to your favorite photos, and then we're going to go to Edit, Select All. All right. Once we got them selected, all I'm going to do, I can click on the little plus icon here and I can create it manually, but the really easy way to do it is just drag it right over the little hotspot down there in the albums panel. Just drag it over there. It's going to say enter a name for the album, so I'll call it Great Smoky Mountains. Add selected items. I selected them already, so that's good, and click OK. And now I've got an album over here. And if you're an ON1 PhotoVia user, you actually even see that there's a little icon over here to publish to PhotoVia. So that's another benefit of using albums, is that you're not necessarily going to publish a whole folder of 500 photos to PhotoVia. PhotoVia is a great way on your tablets or your phones to look at your photos if you just want to see the photos, and that way you're not emailing them to yourself or something like that. So you'll actually see there's a little icon over there that you can publish over to PhotoVia. The nice part about this, though, is that regardless of what folder you're in, all right, I can be in, you know, I'm looking at my demo folder photos, and I'm looking at a family photo shoot that I did for some friends, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to get back to those Great Smoky Mountains photos. I just want to get back to my favorites. I don't want to go to the folder and then have to go over here to the filter section and do all that. I just want to see my favorite ones. All I have to do is come over here, click on the album, and there they are. Well, one of the things that's going to come up is if you are an ON1 user and you maybe want to do something that another app has to offer. For example, merging a panorama together. Well, you're gonna have to jump into another app for that. So I wanna show you the workflow. I wanna show you the workflow if you start in ON1, how to get those photos, how to merge that panorama together in another app, and then how to get it back over to ON1 so that you can put your finishing touches on it. Well, first let's set this up in kind of a workflow scenario. So I'm browsing through folders. All right, I'm looking through my photo folders, and I come across one that I know has got some photos that will stitch together into a panorama. By the way, just a little side tip, you don't have to use it, but if you're ever out shooting a panorama, see, I just dropped 4 photos in here that I know make a pano, but if you're looking through 300 photos, sometimes it's hard to spot the photos that are panos, so you could always use your hand in front of your camera for the first shot, then take the pano and then use your hand again at the end of it. At least kind of gives you a little visual representation of where those photos are. Anyway, besides the point. When you do find the photos that you want to create a panorama with, all you got to do is go over here and select them. Now remember, the whole point of this video is to show you the workflow because ON1 RAW doesn't do panorama stitching yet. So if you do want to stitch together a panorama and you have Photoshop, then this would be the process. I think a common question is going to come up, what about if I have Lightroom? Then, you could do it. It's a lot clunkier. If you're going to be using Browse as your browser and organizational system for your photos, and then you're going to be using Develop for developing your raw photos, you're probably not really going to jump over to Lightroom. So preferably you're going to jump to Photoshop. Either way, you're going to right click on the photos here. And if you are using Lightroom and that's all you got, you don't have Photoshop, you can send it over to Lightroom and you can merge to a panorama from there. But the easier way is if you have Photoshop, go ahead and do it this way. So we're just going to choose to send over to Photoshop. So from here, it's going to ask us, do you want to edit a copy? I'm just going to go edit an original because they're all raw files. So I don't need to make a copy. And what it's going to do is it's going to launch Photoshop, and it's going to launch because they're all raw files. It's actually going to open up Camera Raw, all right? And you're going to see all the raw files right here. Now, we don't really care about all this stuff. All we want to do is take advantage of Photoshop for the pano stitching, because we're going to do all of our edits back in the Develop app inside of ON1. So what we need to do is stitch this together into a pano. I'm going to go up here to this top little icon. I'm going to choose Select All. That selects all 4 photos here. I'm going to go back to that same icon, and I'm going to choose Merge to Panorama. All right. So this is going to merge everything together into a pano. Happens pretty fast. You're typically going to get these little extra edges that happen here unless you're using a fancy pano ball head and you do it perfectly, which I don't really know anybody that does. But if you're doing that, you're going to have some of these little edges. The easy way to get rid of them, amazing slider, boundary warp, just crank it up to 100. That's all you got to do. So then we're going to click on Merge here, and it's going to give us the folder. What I do is I just drop the same file that it's giving me. I just drop that into the folder that's got all the photos in it. I don't want to separate it. So we're just going to hit Save. And you'll see that it's merging everything together here. Now, I'll give you a little tip, and that is it's merged everything together. You'll see it right down here. And as tempted as you may be to try to go start editing it right here, there's really no reason. You're using the Develop, and you're using all the raw and the editing controls that we have in ON1. So all you're really going to do down here is just click Done. All right, you're saying I'm done with it. Then we're going to go jump back into ON1. Here it is. A couple things I might do at this point, just from an organizational standpoint. Hit the letter P for like, which basically says, I like this photo. I want to make sure that, I can have a quick way to get to it again. And you got your filters down here. We covered that in another video. But go ahead and hit the letter P for like, and you can put it into your albums depending on how you're organizing your photos, just to help keep things organized. Because at this point, you're not really going to work with these anymore, because these are all of the kind of derivative files that made up the pano. And now it's time to edit. So we're just going to hop over to the Develop module. And aside from just the basic cropping that we would do, so just do some basic cropping and straightening for the photo, you're going to have all your raw edits right here. And you just edit the photo like normal. All right, there's not too much to do. Like, it kind of bugs me. I got some sensor dust in the sky, so I'll go here and get rid of a couple little things up here in the sky. Looks good. Come over here to the right-hand side. I think exposure-wise, I might darken it a little bit, add a little contrast. Pull back a little bit on the highlights. I think shadows were doing pretty good. Got my whites, got my blacks. Structure will add a little bit of detail to this. The haze slider. So it is kind of hazy back here. It's kind of a hazy morning, so we can just go in here and kind of just tighten that up a little bit. Just gives a little bit more color, a little less haziness to the background there. Go in here, warm it up a bit as we go through. Maybe go down, and why not finish it up with something that we all know and love, and that is a little bit of a vignette. Just like so. As I look at it, I might come back up here, maybe adjust the whites a little bit more, maybe a little bit warmer. Looking pretty good. Okay. So that's the workflow. All right. We started in Browse. If we want to do something that ON1 can't do, then we can just select the photos. We can right click, and we can jump out to another application, do our changes, and jump right back into ON1 and still have the Develop module and all the settings that we're used to come in and finish off the photo.